Hello, class. As you know, just put a new assignment, a contemporary issue in society essay. I'm going to go over that for you for a little bit. If you haven't, please complete the research library instruction because I'm going to ask the librarian to supplement it and use that for more instruction geared toward our specific research paper we're going to start. Also, thank you for getting your essays turned in. I will have them graded this week. I really appreciate all of your hard work and getting your essays turned in. I appreciate it. I thought about this a lot. Um, During the month of October, we're going to work on an essay that's really for you to look at delving into a problem that's really right now in the front of society. I put three examples in the PowerPoint, three of my favorite ones: climate change, the effects of automation and AI on society and jobs, and the incredibly expanding issues in healthcare, health problems, and disease and technology. Your paper, if you've looked at it, is going to require peer-reviewed sources. A peer-reviewed source is simply a academic journal. A peer review means that a panel of experts have taken the submitted article, taken the author's name off, and dove into it and made criticism, kind of like a very detailed peer review. So peer-reviewed article is really any article that's of an academic journal. And in your library, you can select, ding, a checkbox that gives you peer-reviewed results. We'll be going over APA more. I'll talk to the library about that because I want this essay to be in the APA style guide because that's what you'll be using pretty much if you go to NAU or ASU or Grand Canyon. An example of what I'm talking about in terms of your essay. Let's say I want to write about climate change. Kind of a broad topic, isn't it? So what I would want to do is pick something I can focus on and really write about in more detail. So part of climate change is ocean levels rising. There's no doubt that ocean levels are rising. Now, are they rising because of climate change? Well, that's kind of your hypothesis. You have to kind of get a thesis that points to where you're going to write your paper. So let's say I'm going to blame climate change on rapid ocean levels rising, which is a reasonable argument. What I want to do then is make my thesis and my paper focused around reasonable topics around ocean levels rising. So I could have, let's say, 4 topics for 4 body paragraphs, maybe. Ocean levels are rising because of the effects of changes in ocean currents, temperatures due to greenhouse gases, something like that. What are the effects of ocean levels rising? Well, one of my topic paragraphs could be that it's going to have a tremendous economic impact because many people, just like since ancient Egypt, live on the coast. So think of Louisiana, New York, the Netherlands. Countries are going to have to spend huge amounts of money to shore up their shorelines to negate the effects of ocean level rising. Again, ecological effects. Another paragraph could be that it is going to affect the tide pool creatures. It's going to affect our shipping, fishing industry. It's going to affect our ability to get a food supply because think of the things that we eat that are taken close to shore. And effective ocean level rising is going to be effects on a whole bunch of ecological things like ocean level changes in temperature, currents, animals that can live closer to shore. So an economic impact could be you go to Red Lobster one day and it's red, whatever we have left to serve you. So you could look at it in terms of that. Also, you could look at it in terms of the long-term effect. What does it really mean? So ocean levels are rising. You're going to have to build a bunch of walls. Well, maybe if you look into the future, and many people are writing about this, that it is going to have a bad effect in other areas of the climate change that are going to snowball into things that are no good. So you want to take your topic and write about it in that kind of logical order. Let's take the topic of health, disease, technology. You want to write about type 2 diabetes. your thesis could be that there's been an alarming rate of type 2 diabetes in younger and younger and younger patients, which is true. So what are the causes of that? What are some of the things you could then break down into specific paragraphs? Well, type 2 diabetes is caused by something. So some of the candidates you could look into are eating diets that are very high in sugar, diets that have poor nutrition, poor exercise. You could blame technology. People are not exercising. Kids are not out on the playground. Our diet in general is making us more obese. There's no doubt about that at all, none. And so all of those are contributing factors to type 2 diabetes. That type 2 diabetes affects the overall cost of healthcare. Imagine having to get insulin and you don't have insurance. Imagine the cost of insurance relative to the constant increasing demand of insulin and things for type 2 diabetes. There are now apps you can get on your phone, and these apps will transmit through Bluetooth or whatever medium to a sensor that you put on your body. It'll alert you to when you're going into an oscillation of low blood sugar, glucose levels, whatever. Those are not cheap. So there's economic consequences as well for, well, really any disease. But so if you're focusing on type 2 diabetes, I'll do that. I picked 3 areas that I'm kind of on board with, a hobby horse. Climate change, so many factors about that to write about. The effects of automation, AI on society, on jobs, on the future of jobs, automation, automated vehicles, and the huge changes and technology that have been made in terms of healthcare, personal healthcare. My Apple Watch tells me how many steps I took yesterday. It can monitor my blood pressure. It can monitor a lot of things. But we're seeing, huge changes in self-awareness of the cause of disease. At the same time, we're seeing a shift that's showing an effect of our lifestyle and our ecology on human health. For the first time ever in the last 10 years, Americans are not living as long as they used to. Lifespans constantly go up and up. You live to be about 20 when you're a Neanderthal. Shakespeare's day, you lived about 35. It peaked somewhere early, around 2010 or something. There's a reason lifespans are decreasing. So there are a lot of things to write about, a lot of things to go into. Look at this COVID-19. Is there really a pandemic? Or is there simply a virus that's a little bit more spreadable and potent than the flu virus that only really attacks and causes death to people who are old like me? But really, is it a pandemic for everyone in the world? Let me give you a statistic. 85% of the people in Arizona who died of COVID were over 65 years old, and most of them were in nursing homes. The effect of shutting down the economy, what's really going on. The reason I'm giving you this assignment is it seems like the world is just going batshit crazy. Whoops, I didn't say that. There's just so many changes and so many effects of technology, of climate change, of things happening politically in the world, that taking a subject that's contemporary, you can find a lot of arguments, a lot of sources, a lot of research, and I expect you can outline a paper. Now, what I'm going to do is you're going to turn in a rough draft, which will be like an outline of what your subjects are you're going to cover in your paper. Then you're going to do a peer review. I'm going to set up a way for you to be able to critically give editorial comment to each other, a peer review, and then a period of time for you to edit and rewrite and hone in and clean up your final paper for submission. I also put in there about an annotated bibliography. All that is, it's a very useful tool, is it's a short document, not part of your essay, but a short document where you list some of the sources. I may have you list all 5 of your sources, I'm not sure, but at least a couple sources. You list the source in APA format, then you give a very brief synopsis of why is it useful for my paper. And then you give a very brief statement as to how you're going to use it in your paper. In other words, it tells you something about the problem of butterflies disappearing in the Amazon. It'll support your idea that global warming is changing certain key areas of animal ecosystem. So an essay bibliography is a very useful way of making sure you have good sources, basically. So be more on that later. But what I want you to do right now is the hardest thing there is in the world, the hard thing. I kind of hinted at that with this week's discussion question. I want you to think of what you want to write about. You can send me an email or Google me or send it through Canvas, anything if you're not sure. But think of a problem that is contemporary, a problem you can do research on, a problem that has plenty of people writing about it, pro or con or whatever, different ideas. And you're going to write it with probably about 4 topics broken down into paragraphs. And notice I put an objection, a rebuttal paragraph. You're going to take one of your thesis, one of your premises, and attack it from a point of view of an opposite point of view. I think there is an opposing views database in your library. So I say that ocean level rising are going to have tremendous economic consequences. And your rebuttal might be, it's true that ocean levels are rising, but they're rising so slowly that economies will be able to adjust and make adjustments without going into huge amounts of debts or huge amount of economic ruin. So you're countering my argument that there's going to be short-term consequences of ocean levels rising. Every argument has a counter argument, has someone with a rebuttal. Okay, I'm not going to bore you anymore now. I will be talking to you soon, and I hope you have a good week.